I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
It's the biggest, the baddest track on the ISCA calendar, and it is the longest oval you will see throughout the entire world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talladega, Alabama, and the Talladega Superspeedway for round number 2 of the iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series for the Rock Auto 250. My name is Nolan Rempel, and welcome to the show, whether you happen to be joining us here on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, of course. And, of course, it is going to be a thrilling race coming up for us in just a few moments here tonight. Qualifying presently underway here from Talladega. And out of the cars that you got on track, among the first who are going to be looking to set potential lap times, going to be that of Jeffrey Souza. Of course, qualifying so critical at a draft package such as the one that we see on these current Gen 7 machines, having to be so far up the grid when you have to worry about being racing single file with it being difficult to make runs. Kyle Labrie setting the benchmark time of a 50.549. Souza with the first driver to put a lap down to 51.795. It is, of course, running the top lane all the way around the racetrack. Build up that speed all the way around. before you power down on the bottom for the entirety of your second lap in qualifying. Time's continuing to roll on in. Noah Bitts going to be second fast for the time being with a 50.577. Expect these times to start dipping potentially into the 49-second bracket, as Souza will be the first driver to take them out of turn number 4 and through the tri-oval for the final time in qualifying. And will this time be good enough for provisional pole tonight? Crosses the line, logging a 51.283. Not good enough. Only good enough for 12th place. Kenny Powell goes to the top with a 50.529. 200ths of a second quicker than that of Kyle Labrie to put himself now on the front row. A lot of drivers still looking to try to set some times, and so far, nobody really able to improve thus far throughout this qualifying session. Justin Levine going to be logging a second best time of 50.544. How about Clayton Hoffman going 8th fastest? Logging a 50.619, just 4 thousandths of a second behind that of J.D. Baker. Still running his second lap. And he's got to try to put that time down, though he's going to bail out of that second attempt on the back straightaway. So far, slowest driver is that of George Oakes with the 58.745, opting not to set the best time, looking to just get a benchmark time down there. How about Brian Johnson? The G&G driver now going to go to the top of the boards with a 50.479. So far, the fastest time in qualifying by about half a tenth over his teammate Kenny Powell. So it looks to be a G&G front row lockout. 26 drivers out of the 32 scheduled to go racing here tonight have set times, excuse me. And we should be in for a solid show here tonight from the Talladega Super Speedway. 20 seconds remain, and no drivers out on course for the time being that are out there setting lap times. 94 laps in 3 stages. Stage cautions at 20 and 40. And all of this with 27 lap fuel runs means we are in for one heck of a show coming up for you in just a few moments. Let's take a quick step away. We'll take a swing over to the United States of America National Anthem.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Starting on pole position for the Rock Auto 250 from the Talladega Super Speedway is none other than Brian Johnson. Kenny Powell will end the G&G front row lockout down in second place, about half a tenth of a second behind his teammate Brian Johnson. Front line will lock out row number 2 with Justin Levine in third and Kyle Labrie in fourth. Moving on down to the field, you got Greg Wyshynski down in fifth with Noah Bitts in sixth. Chris Johnson sits seventh with Heath Schneider in eighth. JD Baker in ninth. Clayton Hoffman rounds out your top 10. Jason Baker's 11th place with Dan Shaboon in 12th. How about Dave Long in 13th place, looking to improve after a miserable showing at Atlanta 2 weeks ago? Chris Pfeffer in 14th. Greg Bartlett is 15th with Thomas O'Hara in 16th. RJ Root is 17th with Philippe Radojcic in 18th. Mario Lapinta starts 19th. Mark Sanchez down in 20th place on row number 10. Philip Krueger is 21st. Paul Daniel is 22nd. How about Jeffrey Souza in 23rd? Jonathan Ledger in 24th. Don Avery's 25th with George Oaks in 26th. John Mullins is 27th, not set in lap times. From here on out, Josh Schaffer is 28th. Wayne Grossi, 29th, with Michael Kildevald in 30th place. And rounding out your 32-car grid is Paul Olson and Robert Pattengale. That is your starting grid for the Rock Auto 250 for round number 2, the iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series. Let's take one more quick step away. We'll give a shout out to the guys that helped to keep the lights on here at the ISCA. We'll be back with you in a moment for some of the race facts before we get this race underway.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
And as the pace car starts to roll off from the field, just want to remind all of our viewers tonight that you can get 20% off on all ButtKicker products at thebuttkicker.com by using the promo code ISCA20. That is ISCA20 at thebuttkicker.com. They get 20% off on all ButtKicker products. So the pace car starts to roll, and let's run through some of the race facts we got here for you guys here tonight. Stage 1 ends at the end of lap 20. Stage 2 at the end of 40. From there, it's a green flag stretch all the way out to 94. 5 tire sets, as always, with the Rock Auto 250. 27 laps, the estimated fuel window. Fuel will not be a problem until that third and final stage. How about the track temps? It's 71 degrees Fahrenheit down on the track, same as in the air. Winds blowing off to the north by about 2 miles an hour, so it's a relatively cool day here in Talladega, Alabama, and understandably so, right? I mean, it's December the 30th in sim. Starting time, 8:10 a.m. So it is a very early morning. That makes it a bit of a brisk morning as well here in the Mideast. So this should mean we are in for one heck of a race coming up for us in just a few moments' time. You talk about a crazy race. I mean, the opening of this race was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I say phenomenal. How about eventful? 5 cars finishing on the lead lap, about 13 cars out of the 36 that started finishing the race all together. Kind of goes to show just how eventful that race was. And a lot of drivers hoping that we can run this race with a few more green flag runs so that we can potentially see how this race could play out in the end. Don't forget those stage points are going to be absolutely crucial. And, of course, Chris Pfeffer going to be looking to see if he can potentially extend his points lead coming into tonight's race. And he'll be seeing what he can do with a 7-point gap over Heath Schneider. Pace cars down the pit road. But it is not going to be green flag racing just yet. There's a long way around to that green flag zone. And it'll be Brian Johnson in the Gas and Go Southern Spiral Pipe Chevrolet to get the second race of the first season of 2022 for the Irish Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series underway. Entering the restart zone now as the field of 32 cars strong gets set to go racing. The green flag drops and we are underway from Talladega. Look at the charge from Kenny Powell on the top side, already going to the point, but not for long. Noah Bitts with the charge, courtesy of one Heath Schneider right behind, trying to push that 87 car to the point. So far, 2 lanes deep, and nobody willing to give an inch here at Talladega. Who is going to be the lead this opening lap? Brian Johnson's already slipped back almost outside the top 5. Noah Bitts leads your opening lap from Talladega as Frontline looks set to go to the point. Teamwork off is going to be very, very crucial for so many of these drivers here tonight from the Rock Auto 250. And the 2 teams that work best at the moment, Frontline and Gas and Go. We heard as well from Justin Levine back in the preseason race that he was very, very confident in Frontline's abilities to work as a team, especially at more draft-heavy tracks like the 1.5 miles and, of course, the Super Speedway to potentially get them a few wins for themselves. But now, after Bitts clears, that outside lane starts to stall. Each giant tucks in line. The top 4 single file. And from Levine and Hoffman, it is still side by side all the way back through this field to about the 15th position. And then from there, got everybody else in the field kind of still in a bit of a cluster of their own. So currently leading that charge on the top side of 4 cars strong, Jan Hoffman in front, then Shamoon, Pfeffer, last week's winner, as well as Philippe Radojcic. But you can see they're slipping back in a hurry. The outside lane has got all the strength. And Radojcic, the first driver who manages to bail from the top side, going to be leaving Chris Pfeffer out to dry here in that Reaper Speed Labs 84 Toyota Camry for his Legacy Esports machine. And just in behind, Philip Kruger leads up a train of cars, about 6 or 7 strong. He's trying to see if he can close out the gap to the main field. Kruger currently being pushed by Jonathan Ledger, one of the newer drivers coming over into today's race. Also in this train, you see Mario Lapinta in the number 35 Toyota Camry. Oh, and Kildevald almost turning Lapinta down on the apron. We talk about patience here, and some drivers not wanting to be very patient at all for the time being. Wayne Grossi's also in this mix. You got Schofter and LeBray Mullins also in the mix of this as well. Lapinta's going to get shuffled all the way out back. But sometimes that's not a very bad thing. You might want to just get yourself tucked in line now. Lapinta's going to try to jump back down and hope that he hasn't lost the draft. He can potentially reel them back in. But Jonathan Ledger having some major struggles at the moment in this grouping here. That number 29 Mopar Mustang trying to cosplay as a Charger at the moment. Having all sorts of wacky moments all the way through 3 and 4. And Michael Kildevald has got to be careful. Nudging Philip Kruger out of line. And the Vegemite Chevrolet looks to be set to be going a little bit further backwards for his Mad Aussie Motorsports machine. So couple of drivers wanted to shuffle around a little bit here in this second train, and that is all causing them to lose some significant time. So Ledger in his Mopar Mustang is going to be trying to continue to push his way to the front. Now with Michael Kildevald looking to lead the charge, already giving them a solid bump draft. Wayne Grossi also in the mix. If you look at the timing screens, and they are, well, a solid several seconds at this point off of your race leaders in the leading group up to about 15th place. Could mean bad news for that second group. And let's take a look in at the third train. Why not? Robert Pattengale heads up the third train in line in his number 17 Tucson Sound Art Mustang. And he's got RJ Root behind him. Then it's Sanchez, Oaks, Olsen, Bartlett, O'Hara, Souza, Avery. And that will round out your 32-car field. So far, and good news for the field so far, nobody is being trapped out on their own without any draft. Everybody's running in their own little groupings. And, of course, after the opening chaos, you're obviously going to get a couple of drivers that shuffle out and little groups start to develop. And so far, the biggest of the trains is the front runners, who currently sit first all the way back to 15th place, and now everybody's single file throughout this field, though I do see one driver poking his way out, Philippe Radojcic in the iFly number 99 Chevrolet. Looks to be headed towards the back end of this train. Stepped out of line of his own free will down the back straightaway. I think he just doesn't want to hang around too much right in the middle of this pack. It's not a bad idea, right? You want to try to get yourself in a good situation where if something happens, and something could happen at any given moment, you set yourself up properly to try to avoid what could be a very, very nasty type of scenario. You see, though, Radojic now demonstrating some of the hazards, though, on why it can be a bit risky to try to tuck out a line. You lose so much speed so quickly that it's so easy to lose the draft. And he almost lost the draft there. If it weren't for a small checkup in that front pack, he would have lost the draft. Now, though, he's able to start to reel 14th place with Chris Pfeffer back in. Now, Chris Pfeffer is a bit of an interesting name coming into this race at the moment. A driver who it was kind of on the radar at Atlanta 2 weeks back, but we didn't think necessarily would be able to potentially go for a win with all the cars that was going on. He was in a few incidents himself, but he managed to fight back and was one of only 5 cars on the lead lap. Of course, it is worth noting that only about 10 cars actually, or about 13 cars, excuse me, actually finished that race in general from Atlanta Motor Speedway 2 weeks ago. So it was a wild race at the very least. A massive checkup, though, middle of this train. That causes everybody to scramble. Shamoon checked up. That backed Pfeffer up. Radojic almost wrecked as well. Clayton Hoffman got a big time as well. It looks like that all potentially started way up at the front when Chris Johnson checked up, and everybody else tended to overreact just a little bit. That is allowed for our second train, starting back at 16th place, runner Jonathan Ledger to try to close in that gap just a little bit. And who knows what could potentially happen here in a train like this. You got these smaller packs trying to just close their way up, and this is where teamwork is so important. You need to be confident in your pushing abilities. If you're a guy like Michael Kildevald, you need to make sure that the guy you're pushing is going to be nice and planted on the track to try to push your way up to the front of this train. So far, they're about holding even with the group ahead of them. They're not closing in. They're not falling back all that much. But you do need to try to put in a bit more work if you want to try to get yourself into a solid position. We're riding on board at the moment with the Exalted 66 of Kildevald. You see him just poking that car out to the right-hand side, and that is to help keep the temps cool, get that air intake out on the right-hand side and keep those engine temps down so he can continue to push as hard as he can on the back of Jonathan Ledger, try to eat their way a little bit close towards the front runners, but they did lose another tenth of a second to them this last lap by. I think kind of says all that needs to be said about how this battle for the second pack is starting to develop. And this is the sight that we can expect to see throughout a good portion of this race, right? You'll have everybody running single file for a good portion of this race up until we get to the pit stop windows. That's when everything is going to shake on up, and we potentially see some movers and shakers. And it's worth noting that it won't be until well after halfway where we're going to see our first potential bout of green flag pit stops. So far, we are off to a much better start than the 250-mile race at Atlanta Motor Speedway 2 weeks ago. Ten laps in, making 11 laps in now, halfway through stage one. Let's take a quick run top to bottom of how your running order is looking so far. In your top train, it is Noah Bitts with Kenny Powell behind him. Brian Johnson, your pulse hitter, still hanging on to third place with Heath Schneider fourth. Levine is fifth. Then is Wachinski, Chris Johnson, J.D. Baker, Jason Baker. Isn't that something? J.D. Baker and then Jason D. Baker. How's that for a coincidence right there? Dave Long is in 10th place with Paul Daniel in 11th. Clayton Hoffman is 12th with Shamoon 13th. Pfeffer 14th. Radojic in 15th to round out this first train. And about a second and a half back from them is going to be a second train headed up by Michael Kildevald now, as something appears to have gone wrong for Jonathan Ledger, who has dropped back to the back end of this train. So it's Kildevald now to lead this train with Wayne Grossi in 17th, Schofter's 18th, Labrie is 19th, then is John Mullins, Kruger, Labinta, and Jonathan Ledger takes up the rear of a second train. And then you got your third and final train. This one headed up by R.J. Root. It's starting to split apart, though. Robert Pattengale is 25th moment with Mark Sanchez in 26th. George Oakes is 27th. Paul Olsen is 28th. Got Greg Bartlett in 29th, though. He has lost the draft of that train. with Thomas O'Hara, Souza, and Avery trying to see if they can maybe link up and gain some more ground deeper in the field. Current fastest lap of the race was set by one Kyle Labrie with a 48.353. Of course, Labrie running in that second train, interestingly enough, and he set that lap on lap number 2. That was still when you're all getting up to speed, trying to sort yourself out in your own little trains. And issues going on here for Paul Daniel II at the moment. You saw it right there. Clayton Hoffman having to back off as Shamoon, Pfeffer, Radojic, and Daniel all try to get themselves sorted out. And that has caused them to lose the draft big time at the moment. So Mayer now struggling to catch back up to Dave Long, who is now has major rear end damage on the back of his number 38 Fanatec Mustang. I'm going to go back and see if I can't maybe track down where exactly all of this happened, because there's a really big checkup that caused for Hoffman to drop so far back with guys like Dan Shamoon, and I want to find out when exactly that took place. Looks to potentially be on lap number 11. Looks like it was just a bad checkup, and everybody else just wasn't able to get back up to speed in time. So once again, the checkups really biting a few of these drivers hard. So far, you talk about some of the biggest movers and shakers in this race. Michael Kildevald has gained the most spots so far, plus 14 from where he started today. He's running 16th place. He started 30th after not setting a qualifying lap. Kyle Labrie, interestingly enough, the guy that has set the fastest lap of the race, has also dropped the most positions this race so far. He runs 19th after he started up in 4th place. It's funny how fate on a plate track tends to work like that. Speaking of Kyle Labrie, he's having a bit of a moment at the moment with Paul Daniel II. You see Daniel II being breezed by the second train. That Vegemite Chevrolet from Mad Odds and Motorsports has got some major front-end damage, so I can almost guarantee you that Paul Daniel in that number 36 car at the moment has got some front-end damage there that is hampering him on his horsepower, and he is not able to properly get the hammer down and charge out to the rest of those guys in this field. That, I think, explains why Paul Daniel is having such a struggle at the moment. He is currently side by side with Mario Lapinto. They are both losing mad touch to the leaders. Oh, they're going to get turned! Lapinto's into the wall. Paul Daniel gets caught up as well. And the caution flies for the first time today. And we'll take a look at the replay there, and there you see it. Just drifted up right into Mario Lapinto, and that is what sent both of them into the outside wall. And this will be ending on the first stage as well. So we'll run through your stage 1 results now with the replay. This latest caution coming out within 5 laps of the stage end, which means that will be the conclusion of stage number 1. In unfortunate fashion, Noah Bitts is in first place with Kenny Powell down in second. How about Brian Johnson picking up third with Heath Schneider in fourth? Levine is fifth. Greg Wyszynski is sixth. Chris Johnson seventh. JD Baker is eighth. Jason Baker ninth. Dave Long rounds out the drivers that'll get bonus points for this first stage. We're going to wait to see how these yellow flag pit stops are going to develop, because it is, I think it's safe to say that we are going to be seeing everybody coming on down to pit road to get, at the very least, fuel. And sure enough, everybody coming down pit road. So Bitts leads them down, and now the drivers 30 strong going to come on down to the lane, and we'll see who will be the first one out, if it'll be No Bits to also lead them out of pit road. Already drivers starting to leave their pit stall. Some drivers opted to take fuel only. A couple of guys looking to take tires. So looks like fuel only, though, is going to be the strategy call for a lot of guys, especially that of No Bits, who is out and clean. So Bits will win that race off of pit road. So now, with stage 1 complete and the pit stop cycle through as well, let's bring up your stage 1 winner. We'll give a chat here to one Noah Bits from Frontline. Well, Noah, you're doing a good job up front. Took that lead early on in this race, and you held it very comfortably to take that stage 1 victory.
Yeah, Heath was to thank for that. Pushed me up front. I tried to get him back in line with me, but it was a little close and didn't quite make it.
Well, how's it feeling out there so far? I mean, teamwork has been the name of the game so far. Levine's been confident in Frontline's abilities. Can you say the same?
Yeah, I'm confident in what we have. It's a tough race out there today. Really hard holding everybody off, but I mean, maybe things will pick up a little. We'll do some double wide racing, and we'll see. I gotta see how things turn out for the next stage.
And you expect to maybe have a little bit more pressure coming from behind you that you might be able to fend off to try to go back-to-back with your stage wins here today?
Well, if Kenny and Brian were still behind me, yeah, I think they would probably be able to pass me. But being I got Justin and Heath behind me now, I think we're good to go.
All right. Well, sounds like you're very confident over there, that number 87 Frontline machine, and understandably so. You got good reason. You got a lot of good teammates right behind you. Before I let you go here, Noah, anybody you'd like to shout out if you're a Frontline number 87?
Yeah, Frontline, we put a lot of work into the set. It's come out pretty good, and we're getting faster, and I think it's going to show in this race.
And thank you, Noah, for taking the time to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Congrats on a stage 1 win. Best of luck here in stage 2.
Thank you.
So that was your stage 1 winner, Noah Bits from Frontline, coming home with 10 bonus points. Still under caution from the Talladega Super Speedway, and we'll take one quick step away. We'll be back in a few moments.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
So up here in the lead of this race, it is a Frontline 1, 2, 3 with Bits, Levine, and Schneider getting set to get this race kicked off. Chris Johnson is 4th, Hoffman 5th. From there, Powell, Shamoon, Brian Johnson, and Michael Kildevald round out your top 10 with Greg Wychinski down in 10th place. Stage 2 comes to the close at the end of lap number 40. Paul Daniels still in pit road, getting some extra service done. Same story with one RJ Root. And Mario LaPinta becomes our first timer on the night after he got into it with Paul Daniel, bringing out our first caution of the night when Daniel drifted up into LaPinta, putting them both into the wall. Got single filed out mighty quick in the opening stage, and I would expect nothing different here. I think the crucial thing is the fact that before on the stage 1, the initial start, I should say, G&G had a 1-2 with Frontline 1-2 behind them. Now, though, it's Frontline 1-2-3. If they could coordinate this, they could potentially be able to get a significant run on the field and keep the G&G driver of Chris Johnson behind them. Pace car is down and in. And that leaves it in the hands of Noah Bits. Green flag's back out, and we go back racing for the Rock Auto 250 from Talladega, Alabama. And you saw this time around just how quickly the field got single filed out, with Bitts leading the way on the front line 1, 2, 3. As I anticipated, front line working together to make sure that they could get themselves sorted early. So far, 1st through 11th, all in one big drafting train in the front portion of this field, with Brian Johnson heading to the rear. Grabachinski in a bit of no man's land from there. J.D. Baker brings up our second train. That goes all the way back to about 24th. And then Souza brings up everyone else. Tell you what, the frontline crew really know what they're doing when it comes to these plate tracks. They know how to work together. They know exactly where they need to put their cars to try to get themselves in a good position. It's more than you can say, I guess, for a lot of guys deeper in the field. And you just saw Radojic jumping out of line with Jason Baker, thought about maybe making a move, but they opted against it and instead decided to duck back in line. And how about Jonathan Ledger? He was in the second train for a good portion of that opening stage as well in his... I guess you could call it a Charger Mustang hybrid. Oh, and a big check with the second train. That could cause trouble, and Ledger gets turned around. One car up to the outside wall. Ledger's going to go with them, and still wrecking up in front. Josh Schaffner getting turned around. Pattengale is in it as well. No caution yet. Now the caution flies. And we'll go back to a replay under caution. Third, set to make that second time tonight. And that all started with a checkup in the second train. And it kicked off when Wayne Grossi checked to avoid J.D. Baker. That checked up Mullins, who got into Jason Baker. Radojic was there, but the first driver that actually got turned was Philip Kruger getting into Jonathan Ledger. That spun the 29 around. Kruger then went up and got into Schaffner and hit Schaffner to the outside wall. And Dave Long had a very narrow escape from all that as well. Pattengale caught with absolutely nowhere to go. And there you see from the aerial view, and there was Long scraping by on the inside line and right down on the apron. If we can, got to get a look on board the number 38 Ford Mustang, because he got through there by the skin of his teeth. I believe we'll be able to get that for you here. He just barely managed to scrape around Jonathan Ledger's game back up the track. Watch everybody start to slide in front of him, and whoops, down to the bottom, and just managed to break through. And Josh Schaffner will become our second retirement on the night, as we are now under caution for the second time today. Philip Kruger going to be leading the group of cars down pit road. He's taking with him Sanchez, as well as Pattengale, Souza, Bartlett, Daniel, O'Hara, Avery, and Ledger. A lot of those drivers having damage, of course, from various incidents. Makes sense that you would take this free caution period to come on down and make whatever kind of changes you want to make and get yourself set up for the ending here of stage number 2. And the good news is, looks like all the way around the field, and nobody seems to be having too many incidents when it comes to repairs. Pattengale reporting he's got about 30 seconds of wait time on his repairs. That he's got to get his car back in tip-top shape. That has already been served for him. So at the moment, when you look through the top 10 of your field, it is Biss, Levine, Schneider for the front line, 1, 2, 3. We got Chris Johnson, then Hoffman, Shamoon, Powell, Kildevard, Pfeffer, and then Kyle Labrie rounds out the top 10. Let's take another quick step away, and we'll be back with a restart in a few moments.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebutkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Coming around through 3 and 4, 1 lap to green. If you're just joining us, we would like to welcome you to your coverage of the Rock Auto 250 from Talladega Super Speedway for round 2 of the iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series, coming to the end of our second caution. One more scheduled caution on the night at the end of lap number 40 for your stage 2. Pace car is going to pull down and in. Out of the 32 drivers so far tonight, 2 have retired. Those drivers, RJ Rube, Mario Lapinta. Schaffner is 2 down. He will be joined in making it 3 drivers to have retired. 29 remain, all of them on the lead lap. Pitts leads them back to the green flag. And once again, the front line 1, 2, 3 steams away. And they already get single filed out and get set to fend off guys like Johnson and Hoffman just behind them. It's a very stark contrast compared to the start of the race. I mean, on lap number 1, we saw drivers going too wide all the way around until about lap number 2, halfway through down the back straightaway. Nowadays, though, when you get around to this first and second stage here on the restarts, well, so far they've been single filing themselves out before they even get out of turn 2, which goes to show just how crucial everybody's realized that getting into the line quickly is if you want to make sure that you don't get stuck in a bit of a line of your own. So far, leading train, first to about 13th place, 14th on back, still with the drafting brains, trying to catch up, which would make it a 19-car train for the lead. And that effort being headed up at the moment by Jason Baker, who you saw get a bit sideways out of turn 2. Oh, Kildeball checking up! Oh, boy! Kyle Labrie scrambling to the apron. As something happened there in the middle of the field. Labrie shoved Kildeball down a line, and then Wachinski ran over Labrie in turn. Nearly had caution number 3, somehow managing to get out of that and stay with it. A couple of guys, as a result, having to get out of the groove. That has split up your front group into 2 distinct paths. From first place all the way to 7th, leads your first train. Got Pfeffer and Kildevard running 8th and 9th in the 2-car tandem, and then it's Labrie all the way back to 19th from there in the second pack. And yet again, deeper in the field, everybody's still having to work for themselves deeper in the field. Nobody willing to work together outside of the top 20, it would seem. And in that second train, it's starting to get crazy. Kyle Labrie being hung out to dry by the outside line. Everybody steaming through. There goes John Mullins. Radojcic is through. Long is going to go through. Olsen's in the wall. And J.D. Baker has to scramble to the bottom side as a result. So Kyle Labrie with major rear end damage. Not happy at all at the moment with the fact that nobody is willing to help at the moment. And Dave Long not about to tuck in line, it would seem. He is looking to hang side by side with Labrie through 3 and 4. J.D. Baker might have to take up the torch and help out in that Cheetos #1 Chevrolet. You wonder if that rear end damage is enough to be hampering Labrie's overall speed, and that is why nobody's willing to help him as J.D. Baker breezes past Kyle Labrie. And it looks like that may very well be the case as Baker trying to close up to Radojcic up in front. But that second pack losing touch with the race leaders from first on back to about 9th place. Still a bit crazy deep in the field as well. Look back to Jonathan Ledger in the number 28 car having a bit of a scrap with R.J. Root, who just had to tuck back in line. This is for the dull end of the field at the moment, further down the order. 10 laps to go this time by. Ledger is going to use the draft to move Greg Bartlett out of line, up to the wall. Of course, it is worth noting that R.J. Root, several laps down, 4 laps down as a matter of fact, still in this race, but had to spend a lot of time in pit road getting damage repairs. Nobody in this third grouping seems to be willing to work together. You can see this right here as Ledger goes around the outside of Greg Bartlett, and that is why they lose touch so quickly with the race leaders. I mean, you look at how everybody's passing each other further in the back here, and then you like jump up to your top 10 again, and it's a night and day comparison to how the race is playing. I mean, look at this pack up here. Everything's composed. And this isn't even the top 10, right? I mean, this is Greg Wyszynski all the way back just about 15th place. So, I mean, even this group in here, a heck of a lot more composed than everybody back at the bottom end of the field is. Makes you wonder what the thought process is for a lot of the guys back there. I mean, you're not going to make any kind of speed when you're blocking all over the place, trying to keep guys steady. And let's check in on that rear pack as well, because it is still getting spicy. Jonathan Ledger was weaving left and right all the way down the back straightaway. Up from between, you can see Philip Kruger having to push Don Avery up towards the wall to have to keep him at bay. Paul Daniel is in this as well. Souza is just behind now. Souza looking to pinch down Jonathan Ledger. Again, nobody willing to work together. Which is, of course, you're never going to win a race when you're looking to fight like this. I mean, teamwork is absolutely everything at Super Speedways, as it is, let alone, with this new draft package that has been in place for a couple of seasons now on the Irish Reserve. So not just the Gen 6 cars, but these Gen 7 cars as well, right? Where you cannot get any kind of a run up front. How about Don Avery below the yellow line, trying to make a move on Philip Kruger, blocking left, right, and center, trying to keep Avery behind him. Avery going up to the top side, might try to slingshot down and get by him. I'm honestly at a loss for words as to what the thought process is for a lot of these guys back here. You're fighting so hard for positions that mean absolutely nothing. You'd think they'd be wanting to work together, try to push their way up to another train up the road, but it is not going to happen. At this point, the next closest pack to these guys is halfway down the backstretch. It boggles the mind. I don't know if it's because a lot of the guys back here have a little bit of damage on them, or it's a lack of experience. Well, we're coming to 5 laps to go in this stage, this next time by, and that 5 laps to go mark was when, of course, we had our first caution of the night when Paul Daniel pushed up into Mario Lapinta, putting both drivers into the outside wall, coming to turn 1. And that caused stage 1 to end early, so stage 2 was extended out a good portion longer than anybody was really expecting it to. Once again, I want to thank all of our viewers for joining us here tonight for the Rock Auto 250 from the Talladega Super Speedway. Whether you're joining us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook Live, we're happy to have you. And if you like the racing that you've been seeing so far tonight and you like the presentation, well, you can expect these not once but twice a week, as we also have a Tucson Sound Art Cup Series mimicking the same schedule that the Thursday Night ButtKicker Cup Series runs. And you can, of course, get all the notifications for when we go live for both of those series on a weekly basis by subscribing to us on YouTube, following or subscribing on Twitch, and liking our page on Facebook. Looking up front to the race leaders, Noah Bitts heading the way from Levine and Schneider. You wonder if anybody's going to look to make maybe take a stage 1 or stage 2 win away. Bitts has already won the first stage tonight. And with 4 laps to go, the possibility is certainly there for Levine or Schneider to try to go for some glory. They have to be careful, though. You've also got Powell and Johnson right behind. How about Hoffman trying to make a move with Dan Shamoon moving up top? Chris Fever's going to go with them. They're going to try to open up that second lane. Not going to happen, though. Hoffman didn't get the run. Has to tuck back in line. Not for lack of trying, though. Dan Shamoon tried to go back to the top side, but it just wasn't going to happen. Nobody went with him. Now, with this present drafting package, you really need to have at least 5 or 6 guys willing to work with you if you're going to make a run, or a group that's bigger than the one you're trying to overtake. And this time by, coming through the tri-oval to the stripe, pit road will close. 2 laps to go in stage number 2. Noah Bitts trying to go for the maximum 20 stage points that he can achieve in one race. He's already got 10 of them. He's just got to try to hang on to get the last 10. So far, no action going on elsewhere throughout the field. This is currently the train to watch. And final lap will begin here on stage number 2. Bitts heads the way from Levine, from Schneider. Front line, 1, 2, 3. Look at Chris Johnson, Kenny Powell backing off, trying to set up a run. Trying to wind their way up and punch their way through. If they can link up with guys like Hoffman, they might be able to make it work in 3 and 4. Here they come with the charge down the back straightaway. Chris Johnson gonna look high. Schneider goes to block. and it might just work. Powell is going to go with him. Hoffman and Pfeffer also move to the top side. Is it going to be enough? Out of turn 4. Once again, Schneider playing defensive here, but here comes G&G trying to secure a stage 2 win, but they're going to run out of road, and Bits will go 2 for 2. And that will bring a close to the second stage on the night. And your results at the line: Noah Bitts, your stage winner; Justin Levine in second; Johnson in third; Powell fourth; Schneider fifth; Hoffman sixth; Pfeffer seventh; Shamoon eighth; Kildeval ninth; Wachinski down in 10th. And none too soon, as you can see the lap traffic up the road. We talked to No Bits already under a stage 1 caution. We'll talk to Justin Levine this time under our stage 2. And there will be no bits to lead the field back down to pit road for a second round of scheduled pit stops, which will leave just one more round of stops to go on the night, which will come about 25 to 30 laps into our stage 3 and the final stage on the night. Once again, Bits leads them down. He took fuel only on his last stop. Will he be taking 4 tires this time around, or will it be another fuel only stop for 87 this time? Car goes up on the jacks. Left sides only for Noah Bits. Now that is a bit of a risky play. So Bits taking 2 left sides only and trying to drag race Chris Johnson out of the pits. And that is a photo finish in the half out of pit road. I honestly want to get another look at that one because I could not tell which one of them was actually out in front. I think from the looks of things, it is going to give it to Chris Johnson, but only just. We're talking maybe a 10,000th of a second between them as they left pit road. And we'll try to get another look at this one here. Both drivers were in a pedal fest trying to get the cars out of pit road in time. And watch this here, coming to the white line. You cannot get any closer than that. It's that white line with the green cone. Look at how close that is. I mean, you cannot get any closer than that. My goodness. Well, with all of that said and done, got a driver waiting to join us up here in the booth, and it is going to be not your stage 2 winner. We've already given him a discussion tonight. Why don't we bring up your stage 2 runner-up? Frontline's Justin Levine joins us up here in the broadcast booth. Justin, definitely helping out your teammate to go back-to-back for the stages. Was that always going to be the plan?
Yeah, teamwork is key here. If it was last lap, different story. Definitely pull out and try something. But right now, we're going to make sure that we have track position to be there for the end.
Especially, you did a good job to get your team some solid stage points with Heath Schneider playing roadblock deeper in the field to get yourself a front line 1-2 in that second stage there. You talked earlier in the preseason how you were very confident about Frontline's abilities as a team and how they might be a force to contend with. Do you think that statement is still ringing true?
Definitely. We're showing it here tonight. As long as we're all on the same page, it's going to take a lot of cars to get around us. G&G and I think a few others tagged on there, and they were coming, but it's just a little too late. We'll see what's going to go on stage 3.
And of course, with all of this said and done, I mean, the pit strategy is going to be very, very crucial. Of course, pit stops is where those are the make and break moments here at Talladega, especially on the green flag stops. Assuming we get to those green flag stops, do you guys have a strategy already in mind, or are you going to be seeing if you could potentially keep all of that close to your chest to see if you can pull out a surprise on the field later on?
We definitely got 2 game plans here, depending on how the field spreads out here. Depends on which one we're going to go with.
Well, thank you, Justin, for taking the time to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Before I let you go, anybody you would like to shout out for your front line number 33? Believe we might be back now. If you got me now, Justin, anybody you'd like to shout out for your front line number 33?
Yeah, shout out to you guys. You guys do such a great job. Can't wait to go back and watch the broadcast. Everybody at Frontline for putting the work in for this week, and Racer and Bruiser Racer.
Thank you, Justin, for taking the time to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Congrats on the Stage 2 runner-up. Best of luck in the rest of the race.
Thank you.
That's Frontline Motorsports' Justin Levine. Let's take a quick step away. We'll go through one quick commercial break just for a few seconds here as the round 3 and 4.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
Pace cars down and in. 40 laps to go. Make that 50 laps to go from the Talladega Super Speedway. Chris Johnson leads them to the green. And already G&G 1-2. Noah Bent's going to tuck in line this time around. G. Schneider looking to link up maybe with Justin Levine. It is not going to happen, though. Schneider's got to back out, and Levine has to get down to cover Kildevald. So it is a G&G 1-2 now to lead this field. And single file all the way back. And this is now the biggest train we have at the front of this field we have seen all race long. It goes from first place all the way back to about the 21st place driver. And it is getting crazy up in front. Frontline's making the move. One driver scrambles behind. Grassi had to go to the apron to avoid a wreck. But here comes Bitts scrambling up top for the race lead. Being pushed by Justin Levine. And once again, Frontline asserting team dominance in Alabama, as they are going to push their star driver at the moment from Talladega to the point. Bitts is going to go to the front of this field. And this is exactly what Noah Bitts needed after having such a poor run at Atlanta, where he finished 42 laps down. Now looking set to not just win, but take all the bonus points and all the stage points that you can get from Talladega, which would easily boost him well up in the standings into the top 10. No question about it. as we thunder down the back straightaway. Past halfway, 47 down, 47 to go. Why don't we give you a bit of a look on what it's like in car with some of these guys out here in this field. Let's go on back to Jason Baker. He's right in the thick of this front train, and you'll see what these drivers have got to try to negotiate. We'll see. It's not as easy as it looks. Coming to 40 laps to go, Noah Bitts still leads the way from Justin Levine and Heath Schneider in a front line 1, 2, 3. Front line once again, the team to beat today. The main train still 19 cars strong. Our second train, 20th place, finally getting their act together, back to about the 25th position. While all that was going on and we were working our way slowly up to the field, riding in car with a lot of these drivers, Jonathan Ledger decided he had enough for the night and he pulled it on off. So the Charger Mustang Hybrid done for the night. That makes it now 4 drivers. Check that, 3 drivers that have retired. 28 still on the lead lap. 1 of the other drivers on the track. 3 laps down. Chris Johnson and Kenny Powell were leading the way until Noah Bitts, Justin Levine, and Heath Schneider all decided to gang up together and assert dominance over the field by blitzing their way to the front, where they have held on to this lead ever since. Of course, the opening 2 stages of 20 laps apiece are the stages where you can push it flat out all the way through to the end of the stages. And we saw G&G attempting to wind up a punch to take out the frontline crew and go for a stage 2 win. Didn't happen, though, because Heath Schneider played spoiler. Now, this 3rd stage is where we got to start thinking pit strategy. Estimated 27 laps is the fuel run. And these drivers have been out there running for about 14 laps as of now. 37 laps to go. So in about 10 laps, you can come on out and make it to the end of the race. Now, the thing is, that is almost at the cusp of a fuel window, so who knows, fuel could actually end up being quite a deciding factor in this race. And obviously, everybody that has raced a super speedway knows that pit stops are the make or break moments at a super speedway. We heard Justin Levine talk about this as well. They're looking to see what the rest of the field is going to do and kind of judge it from there. The problem is, it's hard to see what the rest of the field's going to do when you're the ones leading the field. Just looking through at some of the drivers out there tonight so far, fastest lap of the race has been Kenny and Powell this time around. And he is actually the only driver so far that has broken in the 47-second range all race long, setting a 47.920. That was set all the way back on lap 36, just before the end of the second stage. You look at some of the movers and shakers. Kyle Labrie still losing the most positions this race. Your former fastest lap holder, he presently sits all the way back in 24th place. He started up in 4th. Biggest mover of the day and a potential contender for a race win now. How about Michael Kildevald? He started all the way back in 30th place. Didn't set a qualifying time. 24 spots gained tonight. And just to give you an idea of how great that is, the next closest driver, only 14 spots gained. And that's Robert Pattengill and Wayne Grossi, both up 14. They run 18th and 15th, respectively. You know how to position your car right. It is relatively easy to work your way up in the field, but at the moment, a lot of these drivers not wanting to make any kind of moves. Not a lot of drivers are wanting to take that risk. It is, in this drafting package, a very, very huge gamble trying to make moves. And one driver that found that out the hard way was Paul Daniel, who has fallen to the back of the field. You see him now just at the cusp of the second train, who finally has gotten their act together. Now, this group of guys right in front of Daniel at the moment, they had their differences earlier in this race. I think it's worth noting they were not willing to work together at all. Now they're all in one long train. Now they're all working together. But it's too little too late. They have, at this point, well lost the draft with the guys up in front. We're talking 12 seconds just to the next closest driver. "29 drivers still sit on the track. 27 of those are on the lead lap. 1st to 19th, all run in one big train. From there, you have 20th to 24th in a line. Philip Kruger in 25th place is dropping back, and Mark Sanchez, George Oaks in 26th and 27th place. They are also running one-car trains just by themselves. I once again want to give a shout out to the folks that helped to keep us on air here at the ISCA Stock Car Association. Huge shout out to ButtKicker for being such a long-term supporter at this point of the ISCA. Don't forget, you can get 20% off on all ButtKicker products at thebuttkicker.com using our promo code ISCA20. That is ISCA20 at thebuttkicker.com for all ButtKicker products. And if you are just joining us, well, you haven't missed too much. Couple of cautions here or there, but nothing too serious. Just really almost single car spins. My name is Ola Wemperl. I've been bringing you all the action from start to finish tonight with Rob Melnick. Once again, doing a fantastic job behind the cameras for your coverage with the Rock Auto 250 from the Talladega Super Speedway. Still green flag racing all the way throughout Stage 3. Only cautions have come in the first 2 stages thus far. And if you like some of the coverage that you've been seeing tonight, well, whether you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, like, follow, and subscribe for weekly coverage of the ISCA Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series. And tune in as well on Saturday nights, same time as the Thursday night races, for the ISCA Tucson Sound Art Cup Series. Slightly different roster, same tracks, same crew. Let's take a run on top to bottom of how your field looks at the moment. Noah Bitts, your current race leader. Justin Levine sits second with Heath Schneider third. Chris Johnson is fourth. Powell fifth. Kildevald sixth. Brian Johnson is seventh. Clayton Hoffman is eighth. Shamoon, Radojic round out your top 10. Chris Pfeffer's 11th place was Jason D. Baker in 12th. J.D. Baker, both for the Racing Bakers team in 12th and 13th. John Mullins is 14th with Wayne Grossi 15th. Ray Wachinski sits in 16th. How about Dave Long in 17th? Pat Gale is 18th. Starting to drop off of this leading train with Paul Olson down behind him in 19th place. Greg Bartlett leads the second train down in 20th. Behind him is Souza, Avery, Thomas O'Hara, Kyle Labrie. And from there you have Philip Kruger running all by himself in the Vegemite Mad Aussie Motorsports Chevrolet with Mark Sanchez down in 26th. George Oaks, the other Racing Bakers driver, finding himself a bit hung out to dry at the moment, all the way down to 27th place. Paul Daniel at the moment is one lap down in 28th, your current Lucky Dog driver. RJ Root sits 29th, 3 laps down, just hanging off at the tail end of your second train. And then, of course, Jonathan Ledger, Josh Schaff, and Mario Lapinta all marked as DNFs on the night. 12, 42, and 48 laps down, respectively. Let's look top to bottom from your ButtKicker field so far. And we get closer and closer to that pit stop window. The window will open in about 2 laps' time. These drivers will be having roughly 4 to 6 laps estimated, I would say, laps left in their tanks. 28 to go. Estimated fuel run is 27 laps. They've been out there for 23. Now, one driver, I think is going to be a bit of an interesting call here, and I think this might really influence when Frontline comes down, is Noah Bitts. He has been leading this train for so long, so he is likely burned off at this point a lap or more of fuel in comparison to everybody else. They're going to be having to come down earlier, or at least Bitts is going to have to come down earlier than everybody else in this field to top up on fuel, because he's been the one doing all the work up there, breaking the air. Everybody else has just been sitting behind, playing it nice and safe. But knowing that front line definitely likes to stick together, I think it's safe to say they are going to be looking to potentially come down together. And is that just me, or is Chris Johnson thinking about wanting to wind up another punch? He backed up out of turn 2, and now charging forward again through 3 and 4. Kenny Powell trying to get back up there with him. Up in front of them, George Oakes coming to pit road. So first driver in for service right as the pit window opens with 27 laps to go. So now with the pit window open and these guys haven't been down there for about 26 laps coming this time by, now we play the waiting game. It's only going to take one driver from this lead pack to send everybody down to pit road. And noticing a big gap starting to open up for the guys up in front. Chris Johnson trying to back up and bring Kenny Powell back into the fold. As there you see on the bottom side, that was George Oakes in his EDI Racing Baker's number 15 Chevy. Just leaving pit road after taking his final stop of the day. And starting to catch up to lap traffic. The field about to hit Paul Daniel II, who at the moment is lapping about 4 seconds slower than the main field. Pit stops coming in the back. Jason Baker, JD Baker, both down to pit road from the leading group. So Racing Baker's coming in together. How about Robert Pattingale coming in this time by? Here comes Bartlett, Souza, Avery, O'Hara, Labrie, Root, and more. Green flag stops underway as the entire second train makes the dive. That was the 14th and 20th place on back. And now a lot of drivers in this leading group calling them out as well. Paul Danny goes down the lap, keep eyes on this main field, and watch everybody scramble down and come down to pit road. Bitts calling out that he's pitting in this time by, and here comes everyone. Bitts is in, Levine, Schneider, Hoffman is in, Shamoon's in, Pfeffer sliding in too deep. Oh, he takes out the frontline drivers. Schneider's into the grass, Levine's into the grass, Hoffman's in the grass as well. Calamity entering pit road. There's a major crash that has taken out 2 of the frontline drivers, and that could put a serious dent in their hopes to go for a race win. Pfeffer entering way too deep. Take a look at the replay. 4-tire lockup, sending Heath Schneider into Levine and Hoffman. Unbelievable scenes as drama starts to unfold on pit road. Meanwhile, the rest of the leading pack coming on in. That includes Powell, Kildeval, Johnson. Both Johnsons, as a matter of fact. Paul Daniel coming in as well, with Kyle Labrie just in behind them. And there you had seen the look on board with Chris Pfeffer. Still chaos out here as traffic starts to blend in. And here you see the rest of the train coming on in. That is some of the other guys that were coming on down. That's all of the G&G crew in the pit road this time by. Kruger leaves the box, taking fuel only. Now, this is the crucial factor. Where does G&G come out in relation to everybody else? Where is the frontline crew? Noah Betts coming around through turn 2 now. G&G's out in front. Brian Johnson can't get up. Kildevall pinching him in towards the yellow line. Oh, and he's about to get wrecked as well as Kildevall has to scramble, letting Chris Johnson through. Brian Johnson goes through as well. And Noah Betts now catching up to the field. Now, here's a crucial factor. He has no frontline help to help him out this time around. They're all deeper in the field because Pfeffer overshot the breaking point. But Betts still going to mount that charge, trying to go back to the point. Believe Radojcic is going to go with them. Chris Johnson's falling back. It's just a G&G 1-2. Kenny Powell, Brian Johnson trying to keep Betts at bay. And Levine not able to join. Oh, big trouble! Jason Baker's hard into the inside wall to the back straightaway. And wrecking on the backstretch now as well. And no caution, we stay green. Jason Baker just getting loose all by himself out of turn 2. Pancaking the inside wall on the back straightaway. And Kenny Powell will now lead this race as a result of that pit call. Brian Johnson second, Betts third, Radojcic fourth, Chris Johnson fifth, Kildevall 6th, J.D. Baker in 7th to round out your leading train. A wounded Just Levine is 8th with John Moles 9th, Grassi 10th, Wachinski 11th, Shamoon 12th for the second train. And from there, well, it's all the way back to 16th place where you get anybody else in a line. This race just got blown wide open. I talked about earlier how pit stops are the make or break moment at a plate track, especially here. And frontline was all secure, but it takes one driver making a mistake to throw an entire team strategy out the window. 20 laps remaining from Talladega Superspeedway. Let's take a quick step away for a commercial break. We'll be back in a few moments.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
Still under 20 laps to go. There you see Robert Pattengale going a lap down. Now all by himself for the Shake and Bake Tucson Sound Art 17 entry. At the tail end of this train, you see Phil Kruger trying to hang with this grouping. Jeffrey Souza has managed to link up with the back end of this train, making it 8 cars strong. Of course, Souza already laps down. And I believe in the current Lucky Dog spot. So it was looking like it would be a front line 1, 2, 3 potentially to wrap out this race. They were in complete control up in front. And if you just missed it, well, Chris Pfeffer missed the breaking point, wiped out Heath Schneider, who got spun into Levine, who got spun into Hoffman. All 3 of those drivers went into the grass and managed to get back into pit road, luckily. I don't think with any major penalties. Justin Levine, of course, got away with that with no penalty. Hoffman's all the way back in 13th. And Schneider has fallen all the way back to 20th place, so Frontline's hopes for a Frontline 1, 2, 3 have been completely dashed. They need a caution at this point in time. On board with the only frontline driver now in this main pack, and he's got G&G up in front. He's going to have to try to overtake. Still hitting speeds in excess of 190 miles an hour. Behind him, he's got Philippe Radojcic in the iFly Chevrolet. The problem is, behind Radojcic, you've got Chris Johnson, who's no doubt looking to hook up with G&G teammates. So at the moment, Bitts is going to have to rely on outside sources if he wants to get himself a race win at Talladega. $15 laps to go this time by. Fastest lap holder, still race leader, Kenny Powell with a 47.920. Kildeval still gaining the most spots with 24, started 30th. He's in 6th. Wayne Grossi has been steadily moving up, though. Plus 19. He is now in the top 10. About 6 seconds back from your race leaders at the moment. And it still has potential to get 2 more. Just looking through my notes here at the moment to check where everybody was at stint-wise. And from the looks of things, everybody will be good to go to the end from here on fuel. So that is not going to be a concern for drivers in this field thus far. Presently 20 drivers on the lead lap, 28 still on track in total. 4 retirees of the day. Those drivers are Jason Baker, who just got loose out of turn 2, coming out of the pits. Slammed the inside wall. He pulled down with no caution. Then Ledger, Schaffner, and LaPinta all collected incidents early in the race, 29, 59, and 65 laps ago. That saw them be knocked out of race contention. And now at the moment, we just have to really sit back and wait. This is, again, the sight that we can expect to see throughout the next 10 laps or so. Single file racing all the way up in front. You can see our second train at the moment. There is Justin Levine, the big pusher that helped Noah Bitts to not 1 but 2 stage victories earlier tonight. Now being the one being pushed himself by one John Mullins. Wayne Grossi you see in the back as well. They're trying to stay as close as possible, I would imagine, in hopes that if there is no caution, that there's some kind of last lap wreck that could see them gaining just a few extra precious spots. take a look back real quick to the weather so far for this race. We started early in the morning and the track temperature was it was really cold earlier in this race, 71 degrees Fahrenheit. It is still a relatively cool track, though the temperature has increased to 76. Winds still up to the north of a solid 2 miles an hour. Roughly 47% humidity in the air. This race started about 8 o'clock in the morning in sim on December the 30th. Now 9:30, about 3 past the half-hour mark. So judging on from what I've heard about people that live in Alabama, it's a relatively cool temperatures, all things considered. Although I have to say, I wish it was 76 degrees where I live. Up here in Canada, well, it's about 10 degrees Fahrenheit outside right now. It's not really racing weather. Unless you're Ken Block and you happen to like outdoor skating rinks as a racetrack. Trouble up in front. Noah Bitts is on the charge for the race league. Making a move on Kenny Powell. Where did this run come from? Philippe Radojic was done waiting. GNG separated. And Noah Bitts pounds. Here comes Kildevald. Kenny Powell on the charge as well with Brian Johnson in the mix. What on earth happened here? Oh, big crash. Powell's up in the air. And the caution flies. That was the caution that Frontline desperately needed to get back together. What on earth happened here? Coming out of turn 2, I think it was Kildevald getting into Powell, and we'll see it here. Oh my. There's no better term or phrase for it. Just dumped him. Talk about doing someone dirty like that. Goodness gracious, that was a vicious hit for Powell. I mean, that onboard shot from Kildevald tells the story. Just right rear hooks Powell up into the wall. Look at the air that Powell got on that wreck. God, he was so lucky to miss everybody else in the field. Take a look from the air. Yeah, that is inexcusable. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that is Kildevald's fault through and through. That is, wow. Drama on the closing stages from race leader direct in pit road and out of the race. Well, under caution, once again, a couple of drivers looking to come down pit road. And you know what, while we've got this little lull in the action here, I want to see if we can maybe get in touch with a couple of other drivers up here in the field. And I'm just curious here to see if maybe we can dial up some of the other drivers that have been up here in the front of this thing. How about JD Baker? We'll see if we can get a hold of JD Baker. JD, this is Nolan up here in the booth. You got a copy?
How you doing, buddy? Doing all right.
Well, you got a wounded car, to say the very least, but you've been doing a phenomenal job to keep that number 1 Cheetos Chevy up there in front of this thing consistently in the top 10. What's your secret?
Buddy, it's just fast as a cheetah, man. Just going to try to get all I can here. I know I got a little damage with that little wreck that happened, but we'll see what we can pull off here.
And of course, going to be going green with, I'd imagine, under 5 laps to go, or just at 5 laps to go. Do you think anybody's going to be willing to pull any punches, or is it going to be all-out chaos from here to the end?
And I think it might just be chaos here to the end. I'm just going to do all I can to push anybody. See what I can jump out there at the last second. We'll see what happens if I don't get swallowed up here.
Fingers crossed, I think you'll find yourself up there in the lead. I know you're relatively new to the ISCA, but hopefully you'll find yourself with maybe a potential first podium, if not race winning interview with us here tonight. Before I let you go then, JD, anybody you'd like to shout out for your Racing Bakers #1?
Shout out to my brother and my buddy George Oaks there. We got this thing pulled together here at the last minute tonight. And thank my wife for letting me do this and keep her happy. Everybody will be happy.
I thank you, Jade, for taking the time to join us up here in the booth. Good job on so far getting that car into the top 5. Best of luck in these final laps.
Thanks, sir. Look forward to the finish here.
So that was Racing Bakers' J.D. Baker bringing it home so far in the #4 position, courtesy of that latest incident. Has quite a bit of front-end damage. Could potentially hamper horsepower, but that being said, he has been very consistently running in the top 10 and is doing a phenomenal job of keeping that thing up there where it needs to be. If he can get a couple of guys that he can push with, might just be able to eke out a podium finish. As drivers start to get prepped for our final few laps of racing action here tonight, Noah Bitts appears to be taking the outside lane for the restart. 1 lap to green. Let's take a quick step away. We'll be back in a moment.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
So a 5-lap shootout. And anybody, and I mean anybody, that has seen the Tigers and Broncos at Talladega knows that the most terrifying words you can hear when you're the race leader is 5-lap shootout combined with Talladega Superspeedway. Dan Shamoon down there on the radio saying that he will push anybody, but he can't lead anything. Has some front-end damage himself that he's working with in his number 55 DSP Mustang. And we get set to kick it all off. Well, ladies and gentlemen at home, you wanted the race, you got a race. Doesn't get much better than a 5-lap showdown here in Talladega, Alabama. Pace car is down and in. Can Noah Bitts hang on with no one in front line close to help him? Green flag is out, and it's a good launch from Bitts. But here comes Radojic with a head of steam, and he's got both Johnson brothers behind him looking to try to make the charge and push the way up. Oh, look out for J.D. Baker. Just tucks in line and cuts off Chris Johnson by the skin of his teeth. J.D. Baker not pulling any punches, trying to push hard to get that Racing Bakers #1 up on the podium. Single file for now. But we all know that this field is a ticking time bomb waiting to be set off in these final 4 laps. First through about 8th place have managed to somewhat break away. Wachinski is trying to close back in. Does the second train, 11th on back, headed up by Dan Shamoon, trying to follow suit. P. Schneider still trapped in that second train deeper in the field. Levine is in this top train, but he's in 6th place. He's got 4 cars between himself and Noah Bitts, his teammate. I don't think Levine is going to be able to properly help Bitts. Bitts is going to be all by himself. Which means if Brian and Chris Johnson can link up together, it could be golden for them to try to gang up and go for a win. Three laps to go. Here they go. Starting to make the moves. Wojcinski to the top side. He's got Dan Shamoon to help as the second train catches the first. First stall back all the way to about the 17th place, all in the line. But there's no space to go. Wojcinski's wobbling everywhere out of turn 2. Shamoon's trying to follow. Here comes the charge. Hoffman's with the outside line. Olsen's linking up as well. Pfeffer's there. RJ Root is in the mix. If they can link up and actually push each other through these corners, they might be able to make something happen. But nobody's able to link up in the middle of 3 and 4. Two laps to go, penultimate time. Still single file all the way back to 10th, and it's double file with Wojcinski and Don Avery. That second pack out there not going to be a factor as they go 3 wide out of turn number 2. The run is gone. So look up front. Noah Bitts going to be under heavy fire. 2.6 miles to go at the start-finish line. And Radojic is trying to stay with him, but look at Brian Johnson backing off, trying to set up a run. And they make it to the white flag. This race will end this lap no matter what happens. Can Bitts hang on? Does he have what it takes? Or will Radojic manage to push through and take a win? Does Johnson have anything for him? Back straightaway. If the move's going to come, it'll have to be here for Geese deeper in the field. JD Baker moves on the top side. Levine's going to go with him to try to get a charge going. Huge bump to the back of the Racing Bakers, number 1, but it might not be enough. Brian Johnson winding up a punch. He's linked up with Chris Johnson. Here they come out of 4. Philippe Radadrick going to go with Gomez. There's Brian Johnson to the outside line. It's going to be a mad charge at the start-finish line. They crash behind, but Biz is going to hang on, and he will win for Frontline for the Talladega Super Speedway. And Wojcinski flipping wildly as they come to the stripe. He will cross the line backwards, finishing all the way in 16th place. A wild wreck out of turn 4, down the front, straight away through the tri-oval. This all kicked off in the front pack when it fell apart at the rear. And that is the hit that sent Wojcinski for the ride of his iRacing career. Barrel rolling at least 10 times. What an absolutely dramatic run. And from Talladega, that is all how it comes to a smashing close. And watch as Wojcinski gets sent for the ride of his life. Can't even see where you are. All you know is you're on the track. You don't know where. At that point, you just back it up across the line. Let's take a rundown now of your official post-race results. As Bitts burns it down the front straightaway. Noah Bitts takes a race victory away. Brian Johnson and Chris Johnson had a charge, but Radojic proved an obstacle too much for them to overcome. JD Baker finishes off in 5th place with John Mullins in 6th. Wayne Grossi 7th with Justin Levine in 8th. Thomas O'Hara in 9th. Clayton Hoffman rounds out your top 10. From there, it's Dan Shamoon along with Chris Pfeffer, Then it's Don Avery, Dave Long, Jeffrey Sousa, Wachinski, Michael Kildevald, Greg Bartlett, Paul Olsen, the last driver on the lead lap with Kyle Labrie, one down in 20th place. Heath Schneider is 21st. Then it's Philip Kruger, Mark Sanchez, RJ Root, and Robert Pattengill, Paul Daniel, the last drivers running on the track. Then it's Kenny Powell, Jason Baker, Jonathan Ledger, Josh Schaffner, and Mario Lapinta to close out a 94-lap, 250-mile, 32-car race from the Talladega Superspeedway. Let's take a quick step away. Don't go away, though. We'll be back for the post-race show in just a moment.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway for the post-race show of the Rock Auto 250. Let's take a quick look down and we'll give a talk here to one Noah Bitts, bringing it home in victory lane, managing to fend off the G&G charge. And Noah, what a maddening finish for you. And G&G was trying to set you up, but Radojek proved to be the one obstacle that they couldn't overcome, securing your race win.
Yeah, it's good to finally get a win, and I couldn't thank Frontline enough. Probably wouldn't have done it without them. And Philip there, he also helped me out in a big way, and I don't know if I would have been able to do it without him either.
So what was it like for you out there when you came down to green flag pit stops and all of a sudden behind, you must have seen your teammates getting wiped out by Pfeffer in your rearview mirror. Did that kind of put a downer on everything for you? How did you think the strategy for you might play out with your frontline team is no longer able to be in the mix with you?
Oh, yeah, that was a nightmare. Just looking in my mirror and seeing everyone spinning out. I knew it was going to be a lot tougher race after that. I was hoping maybe Justin could get back with the main group and help us out. I think he was there at the end, but yeah, it's not what I wanted to see.
And well, you end up getting a solid win here tonight from Talladega, and at this point in time, I think it's safe to say it's a much more heartwarming thing to see compared to where you finished 2 weeks ago at Atlanta. Do you think that you will be able to potentially go for a championship here in this first season of 2022?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to, be in contention for it. I'd like to be able to put in good runs every single week. That's the goal, and just have a good time doing it with everyone in here. So
that, of course, is the goal for all of these drivers out here in the field. Well, thank you for taking the time, as always, to join us up here. Noah, it's always a pleasure being able to talk to you. Before I let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for your front line number 87?
Yeah, again, thanks Frontline for putting in the work, getting this thing the way it was. It was really fast, especially when we're all lined up there. Thanks to Bruzy for sponsoring the car. Everyone who put the show on and everyone who's in the race. Is a good race, and just thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Noah, for taking the time to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Congratulations on a race win, and best of luck next week at The Rock.
All right, talk to you later. Thanks.
That was Noah Bitts bringing it home in victory lane for the frontline crew. We'll move it on down to second place. Brian Johnson heading up the mad G&G charge in the closing stages. And Brian, so close, managed to pick up a second place, but not quite able to regain that top spot where you started from today. But still, a second place, considering everything that took place in those closing stages, that's still something to be proud about, I'd imagine.
Yeah, man. Yeah, first off, congrats to Noah for the win. Thanks from, I just want to thank my teammate Chris for the push. That was fun. The goal was just survive that last stage and give her all that last lap. So, I'm happy with second.
So despite these cars obviously being new, it seems like the racing, at least at the plate tracks, is still very similar in comparison to the Gen 6 cars. Do you reckon that might potentially change as the season goes on and iRacing continues to update these cars? Or do you reckon that this could potentially be what we could expect to see in this type of a race from here on out when it comes to the plate racing?
Yeah, that's hard to say. They claim it's pretty close to the real thing. You just got to learn how to work the draft. It's new. It's a new car, so we all just got to kind of learn it. So I'm not a huge fan of super speedways anyway, so you're kind of asking the wrong guy anyways about that. So
we mentioned you're not a fan of super speedways, but I imagine you're a fan of some of the smaller tracks in that case, which means you might like the facility we're going to next, Rockingham Speedway, a track with a lot of very rich history. So new meets old. What's your take at the Rock in 1 week's time?
Yeah, man, just keep your car clean. Yeah, that should be a fun one.
Amen to that. It's definitely something that is not the easiest things to do, that turn to wall. I still have yet to win an arm wrestling match against it. We'll see if maybe anybody can have any other luck in that department in 1 week's time. We'll let you go, though, Brian. Anybody you would like to shout out for your GNG number 4?
Yeah, shout out to Southern Spiral Pipe. Shout out to Rob, and Kenny for putting this on. ButtKicker. And all my teammates. That was a blast. Had a good time.
And thank you, Brian, for taking the time to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Congratulations on a second-place finish. Best of luck next week in North Carolina.
Thanks, Nolan.
Well, we move from one Johnson right down to another. Chris Johnson now joins us up here in the broadcast booth. And, Chris, you were the one pushing Brian to that second-place finish. You managed to just pit Radojic at the line to pick up a third-place finish. Teamwork, obviously, the name of the game. Do you think G&G so far is rising to the challenge that these cars presents in that department?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. It was a shame that Kenny got taken out towards the end. I think we would have had something for the end. Of course, against Noah, I knew that front line was going to be our number one competitor throughout the race, so we kind of focused on kind of getting batched up, grouped together, so we can take on those frontline guys.
Of course, in the races coming forward, there's a wide spread of tracks you're going to be able to go to. It's not just the plate tracks and the draft-heavy tracks where they are clearly strong. You got some of the smaller tracks coming up. I know Rockingham is up next. There's a couple of short tracks coming up as well before the Super Cup Series kicks off at Daytona. Do you reckon you can potentially use any of those to try to reel in that gap to guys like Noah Bitts and Justin Levine?
It's always hard. It's all a team effort to begin with. Frontline is just they're just a good team. They're out here every week. We're going up against them. It's just hard to compete with a team like that. But I think we bring good cars out to meet that.
We certainly do, and you proved it today that you can definitely take the challenge to them and hold your own when it comes to a heads-up grudge match against them. Rockingham is coming up in 1 week's time. What's the take on that 1 mile track?
I hope we get 650 horsepower. The 550. Not a big fan on the smaller tracks, but that's more Brian's department, and I'm not a big fan of the 550 horsepower on the smaller tracks.
Well, I got good news for you. I'm pretty certain that you will have the high horsepower, lower downforce package at Rockingham, so that will be going your way then when we come around to the Rock in 1 week's time. And, well, Chris, it's always a pleasure being able to talk to you up here in the booth. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for your GNG 48?
Of course, Southern Spiral Pipe, ISCA, y'all up in the booth, Nolan, Rob, Kenny, all you guys that make this thing happen and, have a enjoyable event.
Thank you, Chris, for joining us up here in the broadcast booth. Congrats on a third-place finish. Best of luck at the Rock in 1 week.
Thank you.
And, well, that is going to be a wrap for us then for Talladega Super Speedway and the Rock Auto 250. I'm Nolan Remember bringing you all the coverage from start to finish with Rob Mellett down in the producer's seat. And as always, want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your Thursday night to join us for more racing action. We'll see you on Saturday, potentially for the Tucson Mountain Cup Series, or if you can't join us there, we'll hopefully see you all back next week for more iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series action when we go racing at the Rock.